My name is Tom Trento. I direct a counterterrorism educational organization out of Florida called the United West. The decisions that are made 3,000 miles from here will have implications throughout this globe for generations to come. And this group of people here are not interested in having their ears tickled. This group of people in this room are not simply interested in a good meal, though the Montecito Country Club puts on a nice little soiree, that's for sure. This group of people are critically concerned about existential issues, about geopolitical issues, and about thermonuclear issues. And that's the subject matter for today, a day of action, 2 parts. Sort of stroking and poking you. We're feeding you here, and you have a nice time in the lovely air-conditioned pavilion. But then we move out to the front lines, and we get out to the Santa Barbara courthouse for a rally. So we hope everybody can make that, and many others are coming also, a day of action here in Santa Barbara. We had to address the issue of the Stop Iran Now concept in some tangible way, some educational way that was sufficient for a very short program. This is not, as these panelists have done, a detailed national security, in-depth seminar. This is an overview of 9 basic reasons, 9 red lines, assembled by the Center for Security Policy in Washington, headed up by Frank Gaffney, a significant think tank. 9 red lines why this deal, this Joint Cooperative Plan of Action, JCP, Joint Cooperative JCPOA, Joint Cooperative Plan of Action, 159 pages. You need to read that if you hadn't. Why this deal is no good for the United States of America, number 1, no good for Israel, number 2, and no good for Western civilization, number 3. So you're going to hear those 9 points articulated in a variety of ways today. And the 9 points on the screen are initially, over the past 13 years as these negotiations have been going on at various levels, there was a red line proposed by the United States, no uranium enrichment whatsoever. You have to disassemble the centrifuges, get rid of them, store them somewhere else. Any nuclear capability that is needed will be provided by other countries. That was a red line. You're going to hear about that today. Second red line, and all of these have been gone by the wayside, no plutonium reactor, the ARAK, A-R-A-K reactor. Got to shut that down, heavy water reactor. It can be used to produce plutonium, which, by the way, if you light plutonium in a certain way, you have a bomb. Red line that has gone by the wayside. Robust verification, number 3 of the 9 red line points. Robust verification. I think robust verification differs a little bit from Iran, selecting Iran to investigate Iran and determine whether or not they have violated any of the rules that Iran believes. That's not quite robust verification. You're going to hear about that. Number 4, PMDs, possible military dimension. The use of some of these facilities proposed to be for medical science or for electrical generation also could have a dual use for military purposes. Part of the red line going into the negotiations was, you can't have dual use equipment that has a military component to it. You're going to hear about that. And the 5th red line was the whole thing of sanctions. And we're hearing a lot about sanctions, the withholding of money or rights or obligations by a united coalition of people to make life more difficult for others to come to their senses. You're going to hear about that. The 6th red line, ballistic missiles. There's missiles that you can just shoot off like a firecracker, and there's other ones that go into space and have 2nd and 3rd stage capabilities. What the heck does Iran need, 3-stage capability missiles that come to the United States for? What is that all about? That was a red line. You're going to hear about that. You're going to hear also about the regional extent of Iran's military capability through its proxies in the Middle East. Iran now heads up 4 capital cities in 4 countries, has its eye on Saudi Arabia and the 2 holy cities, Mecca and Medina, and in the northeastern part of Saudi Arabia happens to be what? Underneath the ground that you get to make your car go. Oil. And the northeastern section of Saudi Arabia is where all the oil is, right next to Iran on a map. Ironically, that section is composed of Shia Muslims, not Sunni Muslims. Iran, working through the Shias in the northeast, have their eyes on the oil. You'll hear about this. Get control of that oil and the Straits of Hormuz, and your life is miserable, miserable overnight. The next red line that the Center for Security Policy put together was, you can't go around saying, as you're negotiating with America, that you want to destroy America at the same time you're negotiating with America. And you certainly can't say, give us nuclear weapons because we hate Israel. You got to figure out, guys, how to play this game. The whole hating Israel and wanting to kill Jews, that can't be if you want to move ahead and join the civilization of other sane countries. And last but not least of the 9 points was the fact that right now, 4 people that live under this red, white, and blue flag are not living under that flag right now. They're in various prisons throughout Iran. 4 Americans, one from the Washington Post of all places, another Christian pastor. It's inconceivable to people that do this work that, notwithstanding the feeble explanations, it's a secondary issue. We want those 4 individuals to come home. It's inconceivable that this deal could be struck while 4 Americans sit in horror in this country that we're now going to reward. That's a quick highlight as to what you're going to hear from our presenters. Our next speaker was persuaded to sign up for the CIA, speaks 6 or 7 languages, and is learning Farsi right now. Currently, she is the Vice President for Research and Analysis at the Center for Security Policy in Washington, D.C. Please, Santa Barbara, welcome very warmly Clare Lopez.